Wales once more have nothing to lose. The same, however, cannot be said for the Scots. How will the nerves hold up at Murrayfield? Hello, amateurs. Welcome back to our Six Nations series. And I've got Huw Jones with me again today to talk about this one. Huw, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Tim. Hope you're well.
Very well. And you look a bit smilier than last time we spoke, which was the day after the Italian defeat. Tell me a little bit how you're feeling now after what's happened since then, which is obviously a heck of a lot.
Yeah. It seems like an awful lot has happened since then. Yeah, you're right there. Obviously, we made the change with Sherratt coming in. I think everyone can probably see from the performances how they changed that it was needed, and yeah, there seems to be a lot more positivity about Welsh rugby. The regions had a couple of good wins on the weekend. So I said last time, Welsh rugby is either everything is rosy or everything is in the doldrums, and everything is rosy at the moment, it seems now, according to some people. We've had one half decent performance, mind. So, bit of perspective.
Talk to me a little bit about the attacking shape that Matt Sherratt's brought in, and just the ability to do that as quickly as he did and make it look as fluent as the team put on the pitch. It's no mean feat, I don't think.
No, I think it was 4 sessions he had with them before that game. So you would hope that there's going to be another level again now this time. I mean, it wasn't a massively complicated attacking shape. And it's one that a lot of teams use. And I suppose the marked difference was it was just really different to anything Wales had done in the previous weeks in country in terms of attack. There was always the key to attack is being multi-option, isn't it? And if you're multi-option, you can manipulate defenders, you can move defenders. And I think we talked about that, didn't we, after the Italy game, that we didn't manage to do that, and we tried to just run at brick walls. And if you run at brick walls without moving them and manipulating them to get weak shoulders, then you're going to get what we got against Italy, which wasn't much reward. So there's a little bit more subtlety there, I think, now, isn't there? And like I said, just that ability to move defenders. It helps you got players playing in the right position now as well. It's not rocket science, is it?
It's not. And I think a lot of what Matt Sherratt said since he's taken the role has just been along those lines. Like it's not as complicated as a lot of people want you to believe. It's a lot about belief and the players actually buying into the system that you're putting in place as well. Okay, let's look at Scotland a little bit for a second as well. I thought they performed pretty damn well at Twickenham. Obviously, distraught not to come away with the win, but that leaves them 1 from 3 and in a very tricky position, I think, mentally. Do you think they'll be able to just park the disappointment of the loss and sort of move forward and just look to the next performance, or do you think that might weigh on them a little bit?
They're under pressure, that's for sure. Because this seems to be every Six Nations the last few years. This is Scotland's year, this is Scotland's year. And we hear a lot of that, don't we? And I wouldn't say the wheels have fallen off by a long stretch of the imagination, but they have put themselves under pressure from their results. Like I say, performance-wise, they've not been far away, have they, in any of the games? And my anxiety for Saturday is Saturday the day where everything does click for them and everything does come off, all the passes stick. They make slightly better decisions maybe, and because they are a formidable attack when they get it right. So the hope for me as a Welshman is that they don't quite get it right again on Saturday. But I think that works in our favour because they'll feel that pressure Saturday going into it. Because I don't think they expected to be 1 from 3 going into this.
No, probably not. But they have had 3 pretty tough fixtures so far. And this is the thing about the Six Nations. It's every single result or bounce of a ball here is amplified because it's such a short tournament. So the narrative can change from week to week so rapidly. And of course, everybody that's competed knows that really, the swings of the narrative and nothing like what's actually happening on the pitch. The margins are so fine.
And Warren Gatland used to talk about it a lot in his first spell, didn't he, in the Six Nations, about how important momentum is in the tournament. And that's something where if the momentum isn't going your way, then the pressure does build. And I think that's where Scotland are now. They're still a very good team, aren't they? With an excellent attack. There's a Welshman at the helm in terms of the defence as well, in Steve Tandy, and he's done a pretty good job over the last few years, hasn't he? So they're still a really difficult team to beat, particularly in Murrayfield. And I mean, for us, I was talking this afternoon with a colleague, and it's the hope that gets you. So now we've had a half decent performance, and everyone's like, "Oh well, I think we can beat Scotland up there." And well, hang on now, we haven't won for a long time, and Scotland are pretty decent. So let's have a little bit of perspective about this. But yeah, it's no easy task to go up there and beat them.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're as bad as we have been over the last year. So.
But it's lining up now to be a really sort of tasty fixture, which I'm very excited to watch at the weekend. Okay, let's look at the selections because there's a couple of interesting bits and pieces, although it's much the same for both teams, actually, in many regards. This is exactly the same set of forwards for Scotland. Like I said at the start, I thought they performed pretty well generally at Twickenham, so no real reason to change it unless they had some players who were carrying a niggle or just showing a big sign of fatigue, and obviously that's not the case.
No, it's a decent pack, isn't it? For me, continuity is a massive thing within the game. If something's going well, and all right, the results haven't gone their way, but they've played pretty well. So I don't think it's not the time for them to be sort of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and making wholesale changes. And obviously, players perform better when they know they've got sort of the backing of the coach as well. And I think this is what he's showing you that, all right, results haven't gone our way, but I still believe in this group of players. And they haven't been far away, have they? So.
No, absolutely. And I think interesting this year, I felt like last Six Nations, we saw some rotation with certain teams, but this year, not so much. Teams seem to know their best 15, and whether it's a conditioning thing or they've got their recovery better, I don't know, but they seem to just be sticking with exactly the same players week after week, generally speaking.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there did seem to be a lot more changing last year. Like you said, I don't know what the thinking is behind it. Maybe there is something new in terms of the recovery and that sort of thing. Who knows? But yes, there seems to be a lot more consistency about. I'm a big advocate of that. I think if something's working, you stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one change in the Scotland backline is Darcy Graham now fit and available after his concussion issues back. And this is absolutely Scotland's best available backline. There's no question about that.
Yeah, he's not a bad player to bring back in, is he?
Yeah,
it's really exciting. I think he's brilliant as a player. I've got a lot of time for Darcy Graham. Really exciting. There's a bit of Shane Williams about him, isn't he? He's that sort of player, smaller in stature, but just what he can bring to the game. He just keeps defenses on their toes. As a defender, if he's anywhere in your area with the ball, you're going to be thinking, "Oh, right, what's he going to do?" Because he can beat you off either foot. He's quick, and again, with a lot of boys like Darcy Graham with their stature, people underestimate how strong they are and powerful they are as well. So, you think, "Oh, I've got him here," and then all of a sudden he's run over you. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And a player that I picked out a couple of weeks ago as being really important to how Scotland play now is Tom Jordan, because of how influential Tuipulotu was. And I thought Jordan had a really good game at Twickenham. So again, another couple of weeks in camp, another 80 minutes under his belt within this very settled Scottish backline. I expect him to play again another step up probably on Saturday.
Yeah, I think what he's done well, he's gone after the little things and just sort of done all the little things well, and all the basics he's done well, which allows the people around him to play them. Because if you've got the types of players around him that he has in Huw Jones, in Finn Russell, Big Van der Merwe on the wing, you just need to do your bit well, don't you? And then just enable them to play. And I think he's done that really well. And it just goes to show you don't have to be spectacular in what you do to be effective.
Yeah, completely. Okay, onto the bench. And I think this is all pretty much the same. Oh, no, they've gone from a 6-2 to a 5-3 split. I think Gregor Townsend said that they expect this game to be a bit more open than previous weeks, and that the backs on the bench there can come on and make an impact.
I think Wales-Scotland games traditionally tend to be a bit of a game where the ball gets thrown about a bit, and both teams like to attack. Or you could say both teams have got poor defences, I don't know. But if you look back traditionally over the Six Nations games of Wales v Scotland, there's been some real humdingers on there over the years in terms of games. So I don't see any reason why that won't continue. Like, particularly with Wales looking to attack more, Scotland will always play that way, won't they, with this group of players? So hopefully it'll be the same on Saturday, but we're just a little bit better than them.
Absolutely. I think another reason
I'll take a 48-47 any day.
I think another reason why is that neither of these teams are the heaviest carriers in the forwards either.
No.
So then they tend to be ball movement teams rather than piling through. So that could be another reason as well. Okay, let's look at the Welsh team. Here we go. And again, massively consistent. In fact, it's the same 15 that Sherratt picked for the first game. I mean, it was a good pick. He's picked all the best players at their core skills, essentially, hasn't he? Like the best scrummagers, the best line-out thrower, all of this kind of stuff. And if it works once, I absolutely go and do it again.
Yeah, my thing on that pack is they did really well against a good Irish pack. So, you've got to be, I did want to go a different way or found something that nobody else has found in terms of to drop anybody from that team. You look at the minutes Elliot D played as well. I think he was 65 minutes plus, wasn't he? So I think and was good for that 65 minutes. I think that's probably Will Rowland's best game for a long time as well, because there were people starting to question, could he still do it as they move to France? Taking too much out with him because of how attritional it is out there, and they really tend to want their pound of flesh out there, don't they? When you go over there on big salaries, so I think he was good again, and I really like this back row. There's 3 quality players, and we've spoken before the Italy game, didn't we, about Faletau and what he brings. But for me, Reffel is a quality 7, a proper fetcher who goes after the ball, but he's good in attack as well. And like Jack Morgan, Jack Morgan, isn't he? He's just excellent at the moment. So I don't think I would have changed anyone either, to be honest.
Yeah, out of all of those, I think I'll pick out Reffel as the one that's impressed me the most, actually, probably. He seems to have a real sort of aggression about him as well at the moment. Like previous years, I think he's always been really accurate and really fast and all of that kind of stuff. But he seems to really have the bit between his teeth, this Six Nations, I think. And he's performed outstandingly well. Okay, onto the backs. And again, it's the same as before. And just nice balance about it, isn't it? That, they got, as you said at the start, players playing the correct positions that they used to play in, and it made a whole heck of a difference.
Yeah, and for me, to have a 10 of Anscombe's quality and not pick him was unforgivable. Whether you're transitioning and you want to give younger players a chance, but that team needs leaders, and that's what else he brings you is that experience and that leadership. So I think having him back was massive, and it enables Ben Thomas to look like the quality 12 that he is as well. And we talked to me before the Italy game. I couldn't understand why Max Llewellyn wasn't picked, and you just look how he gets us over the game line. And I didn't know an awful lot about Elliot Mee before the last game, to be honest. I knew he played for Llandovery in the SRC now, not the Welsh Premiership, and I'd heard good things about him there. But I thought he was excellent. We were lucky to go, myself and Lani, to the Ireland game, and we were sat behind the post, and it was a great place to watch Wales' attack from compared to what it has been like. And he was just the work rate of all the back 3 players, just racing to get around the corner, to get on the edge of things, regardless of which side of the pitch it was excellent and really brought a different kind of element into our attack, really.
Yeah, he was absolutely everywhere, completely right. And it was quite often Ben Thomas out the back of shape and then just drawing players, and then me hit the short line quite often. And for somebody who's quite sort of tall and wispy, like he just hits holes really well as well for a winger.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? There's a touch of the Liam Williams about him in that like sort of rangy body shape, but strong as well. Like I said, with the attacking shape, you had Ben Thomas coming out the back, and you often had then either me or Rogers going like a hard line, and then Blair Murray would come out the back of them as well. So it was, if you think of Wales' attack previously to that, you might have one person going hard and one person coming up. Like, you wouldn't have 2 like that. So that was a marked difference for me in that attacking shape, and what I'm looking forward to seeing more of, because I think it's quite an exciting backline now.
Yeah, really is. Okay, onto the bench. And this is great news for Wales. Dewi Lake, one of the sort of kind of few, I guess, real sort of Lions candidates from the Welsh squad is back and fit and takes his place in the number 16 jersey alongside the rest of the bench, which is almost the same, apart from Azarati coming in for Henry Thomas. There was no talk about why that happened, whether it was an injury or a change, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've not seen anything about that. I think Dewi Lake coming in is massive. Number one, he's a massive man. He's huge. And we haven't got many of those. So if he's fit, I think he's always going to be involved. I think the challenge for Dewi Lake is how robust can he be? Like how many games can he play back to back? And I think as good as he is as a player, as a Lions coach, you would probably have that in the back of your mind because he does tend to break down a lot. He's an excellent, what a player he is. Like I say, he's a massive man, but he can play. Our school used to play against Dewi Lake School, and I can remember him playing in the centre, and I think possibly even outside half in sort of year 7 and year 8, and was easily the best player on the field doing that. So he's not just a big lump who gets over the game line; he can play as well. So I think, and again, like we talked about Toby Faletau, having him there has a positive effect on other people around him, I think. And so I think he's a massive plus. And as much as I love Wainwright as a player, I think his explosiveness off the bench adds a different element to the team. Don't get me wrong, I'd have no qualms if he was playing for 80 minutes either, but I just think he's so explosive when he comes off the bench. He can really do some damage there.
Yeah, just that kind of, it's almost like a change in momentum kind of thing sometimes when you bring players off the bench. It's not just what they can bring, it's how they affect the game, especially when it's in that kind of scenario. So I think there's a good case there for him being an excellent bench player, yeah.
Oh, that's one thing you're going to get with Wayne, right? He's going to get loads of involvements, and whether it's tackling, carrying, whatever, he's going to thrust himself into the game and get loads of involvement. So, yeah, I think he's really going to be good for us there.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about how we think the game is going to go. And I did the Ireland-France one earlier, and I kind of thought, well, there's loads of different scenarios here. Like if this happens, then that could happen. If that happens, then this could happen. And I feel kind of the same with this one. I think this could go in lots of different ways, which is, of course, why we love the sport, Huw. But what do you think? How do you think it's going to go?
I'd like to think it would be an open game. And I think it probably will be. As we said earlier, they tend to be games where there's a fair bit of rugby played. It's a really difficult one. I mean, if we can get a good start, does that pressure then heap on Scotland? And do they go into their shells a little bit? Starting well is huge for us, because I think if Scotland get a couple of tries early, that eases the pressure on them. It allows them to play. We're chasing the game again. Although if you look back to the Ireland game, we went behind there and we came back. So, it's a very different Wales team now. It's a very different sort of environment and aura around them, I think, now. As we said earlier, it's the hope, I guess, but I think it's a lot more positive now. And I do think we need to start well. And if we don't, we could be in trouble. But then I think there's a little bit more grit about this Welsh team now, where they're not going to just sort of capitulate or anything. That we will come back, and when we play against teams, we know they're going to have their sort of purple patches, and it's how we manage that. Can we restrict the amount of points they do when they get that, and then when we have our purple patch, can we execute and can we put in as many points as we can? And if we can do that, I see it being a high scoring but quite tight game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, entirely possible. Yeah, and the whole thing about Scotland getting a bit nervy, that's definitely possible. And they have, I guess, kind of shown that before, but they never really go into their shells, I don't think, the Scots. Like with Finn Russell there, pulling the strings and leading it kind of emotionally, he'll never sort of really let that happen. So they're going to continue to play, I think. It's just whether Wales can dominate them enough to get the points on the board, I think.
Yeah, how good would it be to have an outside half like Finn Russell? Just for me as an attack coach, I'd love to have somebody like that. As annoying as they can be as well, but you've got to take that, and he's going to cost you points, but he's also going to score you an awful lot of points, isn't he? And I think his belief in himself and in the players around him, that's the heart of that team. And if you can get him doubting, then you're in business with him. It's difficult to do because I think he's unflappable almost. But I think there were signs of that in the last game where I think they did get to him a little bit at times.
Yeah, there was definitely some frustrations being shown quite clearly by him, I think. The other big thing, I think, in this game is the scrum. I think Wales's scrum has got an opportunity to go up there and really dominate the Scots. I think Wales's scrum has generally been pretty good this tournament, and certainly last time out it was very good. So it's whether Will Griff-John can get in there and get another performance like last time, because last time out might have been the best of his entire career.
Oh, I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was excellent. I said I went up to watch, and I went with my daughter, and I just said to her, he has been incredible. Like he was, and doing things you don't necessarily associate with Will Griff-John. So he carried really well. He's making big hits around the field. Whereas I suppose essentially always just been considered like a scrummager. But he was so much more than that in the Island game. So I think if he goes well and our scrum goes well, it's huge, isn't it? You think how many penalties there can be at scrum time as well. That can massively dictate how a game goes. And I think that's been a real positive for Wales. And I think it's really justified them bringing Adam Jones in like his consultancy role. Whether it's just what he does around the team or whether it's, he's supposed to be excellent in terms of his technicalities and, someone who's been there and done it, and also now getting to that level as a coach of having been there and done it. I think he's been a massive bonus for the Welsh squad this year.
Yeah, and I love his press conferences as well. He's always got a cheeky little smile on his face, throwing bombs in there, left, right, and centre. Okay, it's time, Huw. Put your money where your mouth is. Who do you think is going to win and by how much?
I think Scotland will edge it. My head is saying Scotland. Again, a high-scoring game by maybe 4 or 5 points, but with both teams scoring in the sort of high 20s and 30s maybe. That's what my head says. My heart says Wales by the same, but my heart is always going to say that. But I think it will be a high-scoring game, and I think one team will edge it by 4 or 5 points. Probably Scotland, just because they're more used to winning than we are. And I think that was evident in the Island game as well. They were more used to grinding it out at the end. And I think we will have learned a lot of lessons from that Island game, and we'll probably be better at that this time around. But yeah, I don't know that we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I have to agree exactly with what you've just said. That's exactly where my thoughts were. It's likely to be high scoring. You can see both teams scoring tries, but I also think Scotland will come out on the top. I think the pressure on them will be a positive in the end, and they'll get the performance and they'll get the win at home as well, which is also another factor. I'm going to go something like 32-29, something like that.
You know what's going to happen now? The rain's going to come down on Saturday, and it's going to be like 8-6 to Scotland or something. And what do we know in there?
8-6. At least that's a try in there. That's that's something. Okay,
Yeah.
Folks at home, that is what we think. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. Do you think Scotland are going to win like we both do, although a tight game? Any players that we didn't mention that you think might play a big role? And don't forget to come to the after party afterwards on Facebook or YouTube, where right at the final whistle, we do a live session and we go through the game in minute detail and talk about all the points. You can ask questions, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you come along for that. So, Huw, just leaves me to say thank you very much again for your time. It's really appreciated.
Thanks, Tim. Great to catch up.
Good man. And people at home, you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.